Shalom, this is your brother Ayathan, and hey, this video is going to be, I'm going to break down the basics of a personal computer, a PC, which stands for personal computer, because we're getting into the age where, you need to learn at least the basics about computers since we're doing a lot of video editing and live streaming, and we just have to deal with technology because we live in a technology age. So it's a must, because when you go out and buy a PC, you need to know what to look for because, the amount of gigs a hard drive has and how much memory, I mean, that's all just to make it sound good, but it doesn't really, it's not a telltale sign of how good the computer is. It could still be a piece of shit. It could be an i7, but what type of i7 chip does it use? It's not, they don't tell you that. It could be a shitty i7 chip. It could be an i7 chip that has issues. Not all when I say chip, I'm talking about the CPU, central processing unit. They're all not built equally. So you need to know that. It might have a 3,000 terabyte hard drive, but the hard drive might be a piece of shit. A hard drive that's going to last maybe 6 months and then clunk out on you. So the best thing to do, my advice, what I like doing is I like building my own PC. This, what you're looking at, is my own PC that I built. And let me see if I can turn the light on this camera. Okay, it doesn't want to turn on, but here we go. So I know there's glare, but that's the inside of the PC. So I'm gonna open this up and break down really high level what all these parts do. So I'll be back. Okay, so this is the computer with the cover off. So let me break down everything. So this right here, this is the power supply, 750 watt power supply. The M stands for modular because depending on what type of power supply you get, if you get a modular power supply, it's a lot easier to hook it up to the different components of the computer. So I'll do more videos like explaining every single part. So this is a power supply. The reason why a power supply is important is because the more stuff or the more powerful your computer is, the more power you're gonna need. So if your power supply is not strong enough, it's gonna burn out, or certain parts of your PC just won't run. Like for instance, this up here, see this here? This is my graphics card right here. It's a huge graphics card. This is a GTX 760. I don't know if you can see that because of the light, but it's a GTX 760 GeForce. It's really a gaming, graphics card. And let me see if I can get under it. But the graphics card itself is so powerful that see that it's got two fans in itself, because computers they get hot. All the components get hot. So basically, a well-built computer is going to have fans all over the place. So I have the graphics card has its own fans, two of them, because graphics card gets hot. The bigger they are, the more powerful they are, the hotter they get. So this particular one is a pretty powerful graphics card. It gets really hot, so it's got two fans. Okay, and graphics card, for depending on what you're doing for video editing, is not that important. For video editing, what you want to make sure you get is a strong processor over getting a very powerful graphics card. A strong graphics card is more so for video gaming, because video gaming is a lot of graphics. Video editing uses a lot of horsepower, so you need a nice strong CPU. Now, most of the software out there, like Sony Vegas, Pinnacle, Power Director, a lot of them, they're getting better, but a lot of them are not really, they're not built or created to run to take advantage of the graphics card. Some of the newer ones do. So if you have an older Sony Vegas, older Pinnacle, older Power Director, you can spend all this money on a graphics card and not really notice any change in your speed, because the software is not created to take advantage of the graphics card. Now, some of the newer ones are. Some of the newer Sony Vegas, if you have a, it has a section preference in there where it could check your GPU, which is your graphics processing unit, or in other words, your graphics card, and it'll see if it finds it. If it's a newer graphics card, it'll find it and it'll use it to help with the video processing. But graphics cards they're really expensive. You can spend more on a graphics card than you will on your CPU. So if your budget's not all that, make sure you get a nice strong CPU, unless you're into like video gaming or whatever, over than getting an expensive graphics card. So I'm gonna move on. So that's the graphics card here. Okay. Over here, where it says Corsair right here. Again, I got the light, so it's a little hard. So the Corsair right there. Under that is my CPU, which is a AMD 8320, which is an 8-core computer. It's an AMD 8320 FX. So you have different CPUs. You have AMD, you have the AMD brand, you have the Intel brand. AMD is a lot cheaper than Intel. Intel, depending on who you ask, people are going to have different opinions. Some people are going to side with Intel, some with AMD. But Intel is, if you look at benchmark scores or where they put them head to head, Intel is going to be more powerful than AMD. But Intel costs a crap load of money. And most people that are on a budget, unless you got money to ball out, you can get an AMD and it'll do close. It'll do more than enough for your job. So what I have here is I originally was thinking about getting an i7, but I would have been spending a lot more money. So what I did is I got an AMD 8320 FX and the thing black edition. And the thing about the AMDs is you can overclock them. So you can overclock a cheap AMD chip and you can make it just about as fast as a i7. And i7s only come in 4 cores, I think. This is an 8-core, so this is better at multitasking than an i7 would be. You see, but so the Corsair, usually the CPUs where this Corsair is here, usually they have a fan. So you'll see a motherboard like this, and you'll usually see a fan in the middle of it. Underneath the fan is a CPU. Okay, that's the brain of the computer. And the brain gets real hot because of all the work it's doing. So you need a fan. So what I have here, this is a radiator. So they actually sell radiators for computers. And these tubes coming out are water, just like a car radiator. And they go into, they hook up, there's liquid in here. Just like a radiator the radiator in your car has liquid in there. And it's got the fans behind it.